Very pleased to be joined now by one of the best tag teams in Canada. And if you don't believe me, just ask them. They will tell you. They are the brand. It is the headline Shawn Martins and Big Business Sydney Steele. Gentlemen, thank you for doing this today. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for having us, Peter.
Thank you for coming on.
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. So we got a tag team match coming up this tonight against the Profits. We have Rhino Reynolds in there. He's been kind of more of a singles guy for the last little bit, but now dipping his toe into the tag team waters. I guess, Sydney, just kind of walk us through this match tonight.
Yeah, it's hard to really take anything away from a guy like Rhino Reynolds. He's got every tool necessary to really be a top guy in CanAm Wrestling and all across Canada. But the truth is he lacks two things. Number one, the experience, and number two, the killer instinct. And I think tonight he and his tag team partner, they're going to find out that when you lack the experience, you lack the killer instinct, you just don't have what it takes quite yet to go toe to toe with the brand.
Follow up on that, Shawn. Same question.
Oh, it's hard to follow up on what Sid just said. Everything he said is absolutely correct. Rhino Reynolds and Chris Castles, they are very promising upstarts, but that's the problem that they're going to run into is they're upstarts, and they're going up against one of the most decorated tag teams in all of Canada. Hell, we just started. We just put ourselves together, and we're already one of the most decorated tag teams in all of Canada. Just imagine what we're going to be able to accomplish as time goes on.
I guess for both of you, this is a company that has just restarted after a bit of an absence, and there is a lot of young talent in here. A couple of guys who have traveled the roads many times before, such as yourselves. From just like a work standpoint, I guess, how is it almost a like badge of honor that the company is trusting you to work with some of these younger guys, as you guys have been doing and will be doing later on tonight?
Sid, do you want to take that one first?
Sure, yeah. It's hard to sit here and say that it's a badge of honor that we're stepping in the ring with some of these younger teams when, truthfully, I mean, we are the CanAm Wrestling Tag Team Champions. These teams should want to step up and should want to face us. Now, that being said, there are a lot of young upstart talents, a lot of young guys that, given some time, given some seasoning, are all going to be, top guys in the Alberta professional wrestling scene. It just happens to be that right now they're running face first into the brand.
Again, it's hard to touch on and go over that top of what Sydney just said. A badge of honor, not so much. Right now, it's more like shooting fish in a barrel. We're looking for all competition that we can possibly get, and CanAm Wrestling has decided to put their rookies up against us and give them title shots, which is really honorable of them to think that their rookies could stand up against a team like the brand. But they're going to find out tonight that they just don't have what it takes.
And I mean, that's one thing you see. You look up and down that CanAm Wrestling roster. You've got a great mix of experienced talent that's been around. But one thing you've got in CanAm Wrestling that you don't necessarily have other places is you've got the opportunity to see the guys who 5, 6, 10 years from now are going to be the absolute top of this territory.
Now, when you are looking at kind of younger talent, a lot of times we hear like, well, this person has it, and that something has clicked with these two. And talking with Mark the Shark DiCarlo on Friday, he had mentioned both of you guys as guys who's like, it has clicked for you. Well, when you're a performer like that, is that something you notice? Is there like oh shit, I figured this thing out now? Shawn, we'll start with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that when you're doing something that is beyond expectations. When you're doing something that is great, you know that you're doing something that's great. People need to, a lot of the times people take our confidence because of what's clicked, and they take it as cockiness, and they take it as a negative thing, and it's not that at all. We just know how good we are. We realize what this team that we have is, and we realize that we're going to be CanAm Wrestling Tag Team Champions for a very, very long time.
Sydney, same question. I guess, was there like a light bulb, like, okay, I've figured this out now, something has clicked here for me?
You know, I think there is for everyone. That's one thing that I really try to, you know, when I get the opportunity, when I pick out some of these young talents that I like, and I get the opportunity to mentor a little bit, one thing that I do like to stress to them is, eventually, if you keep doing this, if you keep working hard, the light bulb does kind of click. You know, if you've got a certain level of talent and you've got a certain level or a certain ability to do this, that light bulb does click, and that you do kind of hit a point where you've got this. You know, I am good at what I do. I am one of the best at what I do. And now I get to go out there and I get to show the people sitting in the chairs that that's the case.
I guess for both of you, Shawn, you mentioned before that you guys are still fairly new in the tag team environment with each other. Obviously, you guys have teamed with various partners before, and you both have worked around the world as singles partners. So I guess just Shawn, we'll start with you. Kind of go over what stood out about Sydney to draw him in as a tag team partner for you, and then after that, Sydney, kind of vice versa with Shawn.
Okay. My meeting cut out for a second there, but I think I heard the question here. What drew myself to Sydney Steele to become tag team partners with him? Well, when you want to be the best in tag team wrestling, you look around the locker room at who else is the best. And the only person that I could even see on my level that could even come close to what I can do in that ring is Sydney Steele. So why wouldn't I want the best to be my tag team partner?
Fair point. Sydney?
Yeah, you know, Shawn Martins and I, we both have a love and respect for classic professional wrestling, for what came before us. And it's a love and respect that you don't see a lot from a lot of the young guys coming up. So I think it was almost a natural gravitation that, you know, the two of us now have the opportunity to do what we do. And, you know, whether it's by holding these CanAm Wrestling Tag Team Championships for a long time, or whether it's by physical force in the ring, instill some of that love and some of that respect for classic old style professional wrestling in some of these up and coming guys.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Sydney, how much of your decision to go with Shawn was his robe game?
Oh, 11. Shawn Martins has the nicest robes that I've seen in professional wrestling in such a long time. I mean, I watch a lot of professional wrestling and I see a lot of subpar robes. Shawn Martins has got some of the best I've seen in years.
Shawn, not everyone can pull that look off, right? Like, as Sydney mentioned, a lot of dudes, when you see them in the robes, it's like, oh, congratulations, you stayed at a nice hotel and learned how to sew. Shawn, I guess for you, we talk about when did things click? When did it click for you? I'm a robe guy.
Sydney Steele recently just touched on the point that we were both very much so into classic professional wrestling. I could call us, we're 80s babies, right? We love that 80s style. And all of my influences, let's say, all the guys that I looked up to, they all wore robes. So if I want to be the best and I want to be like my heroes, then I'm a robe guy.
Nice. One of the things that a lot of people who, when you listen to different podcasts and stuff from the wrestling industry, talk about kind of the loss of the territory system. And you guys just mentioned the 80s babies thing. We are, I don't want to say a resurgence of that or anything like that, but you guys both work in various different points across Alberta and across North America and across the world. Shawn, how much does that experience kind of help you in wrestling in different parts in Canada, wrestling in front of, whether it be the CanAm Arena, the same fans over and over again, and then wrestling in different areas? How much does all that experience kind of help you out?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I'm sure City Steel is going to be able to touch on this question even more so than myself here in a moment here. I think it's very important. You're only ever going to get as good as the people that you're wrestling against. You're only going to learn the styles of people that you wrestle against. Every territory, every region tends to have a certain style built up, whether it be the Stampede style here in Calgary area, or if it's the athletic style out in Ontario, if it's the I like to call it the independent style on the east or on the west coast, BC, down through the States, southern area. Every region you go to has got a different style, so you're going to be able to pull and learn different elements everywhere that you go. And the more that you pull and the more that you learn, the better professional wrestler, the better athlete, and the better performer that you become. Steele, do you want to touch on that as well?
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, both Shawn Martins and myself, we are, driven to be the best of the best of professional wrestling. And when you have an opportunity to go around to a lot of these different places, and not only to prove to people all around in all these different places that you are the best, but to take a little bit of that style from a few different places and bring them together to make yourself even better. So, whether it is that slightly more hard-hitting technical combination of that Stampede style that you get through at Alberta, whether it's some of that, more high-flying, fast-paced stuff, whether it is that independent wrestling style, whether it is, the Japanese style that Shawn Martins has had the opportunity to work with, a lot of Japanese talents coming through CWE, whether it's that lucha libre style that I've had the opportunity to work with. You combine that, and what you get is, the most well-rounded possible professional wrestler to be able to take on any situation and any opponent.
Bringing it back a little bit more focused to Calgary, on Friday's show, Mark the Shark DiCarlo had the shirt that says Calgary, Canada, Canadian wrestling's capital city, or something along those lines. And for a long time, that was undisputed, and that crown has certainly been challenged over the last little bit. But as far as wrestling in the city goes, we have CanAm here now, RCW doing a lot of things. PWA just had a wrestling match in a hockey rink at the Dome. And I'm sure CWE, now that restrictions are lifted, they'll be popping up in this city again. Shawn, we'll start with you. How do you feel that the wrestling scene in Calgary is doing right now?
Well, I think the wrestling scene in Calgary is getting hotter and hotter. Everywhere I go, I notice the crowds are getting to be not only bigger and more filled, but the fans are getting louder. They're getting more appreciative. They're getting hungrier. And it's my hope that here in Calgary, that just continues. And then wrestling can maybe one day see the resurgence of what we had once upon a time in the 70s, when wrestling was the be-all and end-all in the city.
Sydney?
Yeah, it's crazy to think that one city could support. I mean, you just rattled off, I believe, 4 different promotions, but the truth is that Calgary really has been able to do that, and some of the most hardcore, dedicated pro wrestling fans I've ever come across have been right here in Calgary. And it was often kind of said back in the day that if you can get them behind you, if you can make them believe in you in Calgary, you can do so anywhere. And I honestly think that still rings true today.
A couple more questions for you guys here. A few weeks ago, you guys had the steel cage match where you guys were able to win the CanAm tag team titles. And the interesting stipulation with the tag team match inside of steel cage is both have to escape. And I thought, first of all, congratulations on a great match. It was one of those matches where I was disappointed when it ended. Because you guys are the bad guys and you won, and I didn't want that to happen. But also I thought it was just a tremendous match. When you have something with a bit of it's a traditional finish with not necessarily traditional, but it's something we've seen for a long time with the escape the cage, but there's a bit of a twist with the tag team rules. How much more creativity does that kind of a thing kind of allow you, Sydney?
Well, I mean, you saw the match. It allows us a level of creativity where we were able to isolate Cody Mack. And I got to give a lot of credit to the Gods of Metal. We talk a lot of trash. We talked a lot of trash to them, but truthfully, they were CanAm Wrestling World Tag Team Champions for a reason. Two incredibly talented guys, but I think what you saw in that match was maybe that little bit of a lack of experience. Jordan Aries getting real excited, climbing over that cage early, leaving his tag team partner behind and giving us an opportunity to isolate Cody Mack. The fundamentals of tag team wrestling are isolating your opponent. When you've got one guy now locked outside of a steel cage, it makes it all that much easier to do. Aries was able to get back into the cage, was able to, turn things around on us for a minute. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that was the downfall in that match of the Gods of Metal, Jordan Aries escaping and leaving Cody Mack for the two of us.
And Shawn, I would imagine that's the type of psychological advantage that the headline would thrive on.
Oh, absolutely. 2-on-1, I'll take a 2-on-1 match any day of the week as long as I'm on the good odds.
Yeah, fair enough. Last one for you guys. We've talked about how you guys have traveled around and wrestled a lot of veterans and are now veterans yourselves. In that CanAm locker room, we've talked about you wrestling younger talents. Are there younger talents who will come up to you and ask you about things, or do you go to them? How does that kind of backstage relationship work?
Yeah, a lot of times you do get those younger guys coming up asking for advice. And the flip side is also true. There's a number of guys I've seen in the CanAm locker room that show a lot of promise that I will go out of my way to, to help try and raise up and mold into that next generation of main event star, keeping in mind that, as the old saying goes, I will show them everything they know, but I won't necessarily show them everything I know.
And Shawn?
Oh yeah, I absolutely agree. There's quite a few really good guys in CanAm Wrestling, and there's a lot of talent that you can see that they're hungry. They come to you and they ask questions. They ask, "Did you watch my match?" They ask, "What could I do better?" And like Sydney said, I have no problem helping these guys because, as I said earlier, you only get better by working people that are better. So it is kind of our responsibility to help these guys get better. But at the same time, I'm not going to show them everything that I know because I'd like to stay at the top.
Yeah.
The CanAm Tag Team Champions, the brand, taking on the Profits tonight at the CanAm Arena at the back alley. You can watch AEW beforehand and then watch the Slam TV tapings afterward. Gentlemen, a message for Rhino Reynolds and Chris Castles, the Profits tonight. Sydney, we'll start with you.
Yeah, these two guys, you're talented guys. You are up and coming. You are going to be top guys. Unfortunately, you're just not there yet, and you're just not on the level of the brand.
Shawn, do you have any closing remarks for the Profits?
Yeah, just like Sydney said, you guys are both very talented, and you guys will be there one day. But we're going to find out tonight if tonight's the night or if you're just going to find your doomsday. And that's not a spoiler, Peter. That's just tomorrow's headline today.
Hey,
I was hoping you would say that. Guys, this was a blast. Thank you guys so much. And looking forward to the matches tonight.
yeah, thanks for having us.